The Galactic Council Hall was the largest place ever built in known space. It floated above a blue star, protected by layers of shields and ancient technology. Thousands of beings sat in curved rows, tall, small, scaled, furred, glowing, and mechanical. This hall had seen wars begin and empires fall. But today, something strange happened. The hall was silent. No one spoke. No one moved. At the center of the chamber, a hologram of a small planet rotated slowly. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds, Earth. The planet was listed as Class 3 developing world. Weak military. Divided politics. Low threat level. At least, that was what the record said. High Speaker Valcor, an old being with silver skin and 4 eyes, broke the silence. "Why," he said slowly, "are we wasting council time on humans again?" Soft sounds of agreement filled the hall. Some laughed. Others clicked or hissed in amusement. "They trade metals," one delegate said. "They argue among themselves," said another. "They cannot even unite their own planet," a third added. Earth was nothing special. The council had seen thousands of such worlds rise and fall. Then the lights dimmed. A sharp sound cut through the chamber. Not loud, but clear. Every screen flickered. The council's central AI spoke in a calm voice. "Alert. Unknown signal detected." Valcor frowned. "Source. Unknown." That word caused unease. The hologram of Earth disappeared. In its place, empty space appeared. Dark, quiet, normal. Then something moved. A faint shape formed inside the darkness. Long, sharp, massive. Gasps echoed through the hall. "Magnify," Valcor ordered. The image zoomed in. The object was not one ship. It was many. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. They were hidden inside deep space, folded between gravity shadows. No heat, no signal, no engine glow. Impossible. These ships, whispered crystalline being from the outer rings, were not detected before. The AI replied, "Correct. These objects have been present for at least 200 standard cycles." Fear spread like cold air. 200 cycles meant something terrifying. They had been there the whole time. A harsh voice shouted, "Who built them?" Silence. Then a small figure stood up, the human envoy. He was smaller than most beings in the hall. Soft skin, 2 arms, 2 legs, no natural weapons, no glowing eyes, just calm brown eyes and simple dark clothing. Ambassador Elias Ward. He did not raise his voice. "You did not detect them," he said, "because they were never meant to be seen." Valcor's eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself human." Elias looked at the hologram. His face showed no pride, no anger, only memory. For a long time, he said, humanity believed the universe was dangerous. Some delegates laughed again. "Believed," someone mocked. Elias continued, "We were right." The laughter stopped. "When we first reached the stars," Elias said, "we saw your wars, your weapons, your destroyed worlds. We learned one lesson very fast." He paused. "The loud ones die first." The hologram changed. Images of burning planets filled the air. Wrecked fleets. Broken moons. "These are council wars," Elias said simply. "Recorded. Studied." Valcor felt something twist inside him. "You spied on us," he demanded. Elias nodded. "Yes." Anger erupted. "This is a violation. A primitive species spying. Unacceptable." The High Speaker raised a claw. Silence returned. "Why hide?" Valcor asked. "Why build this fleet?" Elias finally looked directly at him. "Because we know ourselves," he said. Another image appeared. Earth. Cities burning. Missiles rising. History of human wars flashing fast. "We almost destroyed our own world," Elias said. More than once. The hall watched in stunned quiet. "We learned that power without control leads to extinction," Elias continued. "So we chose another path." The hologram shifted back to the hidden ships. "We did not build these to rule," Elias said. "We built them to make sure no one could erase us." A military delegate stood up. "If this fleet exists," he said sharply. Why has it never acted? Elias answered without hesitation. Because no one crossed a line. A warning tone sounded. Alert, the AI said. Multiple council fleets mobilizing toward human space. Shock rippled through the hall. Valcor stood. Who gave that order? No one answered. Elias sighed softly. This, he said, is why we stayed silent. The hologram zoomed out. Council fleets moved like arrows toward a small, blue system. Then space bent. The hidden ships began to move. Not fast, not slow, purposeful. Elias spoke one last sentence before sitting down. You always thought humanity was weak, he said. You never asked what we were hiding. The Galactic Council watched as the Dark Fleet awakened. The Galactic Council Hall was in chaos. The initial shock had passed, but what followed was far worse. Disbelief turned into fear. High Speaker Valcor slammed his claw on the console. Explain. Now, how can a primitive species have this fleet? Ambassador Elias Ward remained calm. He had anticipated this. Humans always did. Patience was their greatest weapon. We never sought war, Elias said. We only prepared for survival, for extinction-level threats, not domination. The hall murmured. Murmurs became shouts. Survival? Against whom? Against us? Elias' gaze did not waver. Against anyone who threatened us or the balance of life in this galaxy. A hologram lit up the chamber. Images of ships unfolded from the shadows of empty space. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of human warships revealed their design. They were sleek, angular, terrifying, but elegant. Unlike alien fleets, these ships seemed almost alive, as if they could anticipate attacks before they happened. One of the elder species, a towering crystalline being named ZHYR, whispered to Valcor, These designs are older than the Archeron Empire itself. How? Elias responded, We studied the galaxy, every war, every empire, every weakness, not to use them against others, but to understand ourselves. We built these ships in secret, on Earth, under oceans, inside asteroids, hidden from your sensors, because we knew, eventually, someone would test our patience. The council delegates froze. The AI projected a simulation. In the simulation, a human fleet appeared and neutralized an entire alien armada, not with explosions, but by disabling systems, bending space, and cutting off communications. Not a single civilian vessel was harmed. Gasps filled the hall. You are lying, shouted a military commander from the Vortac cluster. Primitive humans cannot do this. Elias shook his head. Check the data. 2 centuries of observation. We did not act before, because we chose not to. You assumed silence meant weakness. You were wrong. High Speaker Valcor's 4 eyes narrowed. He had never felt unease like this. Fear. Deep gnawing fear. And it was growing. What do you want? Demanded another council member. Why reveal this now? Elias' expression was unreadable. Because the galaxy is heading toward a turning point. You will either choose balance, or your arrogance will destroy countless worlds. Humanity cannot allow that. Not by domination, but by intervention if needed. Another elder delegate, a bird-like species named Kalira, tilted her head. So you have been watching Saving Protecting? Humans secretly? Elias nodded. Yes, we observe your wars. We protected smaller species from extinction. We have always believed that the loudest, most violent races are not the strongest, but the ones who survive quietly, wisely, and patiently are. The murmurs in the hall turned into stunned silence. Then came the first real sign of panic. Council fleets were detected moving toward human space. They had assumed humans were weak. They had assumed Earth was easy prey. The hall erupted into chaos. Orders were shouted. Fleets activated. FDL drives engaged. Weapons charged. Elias spoke quietly, almost to himself, but everyone could hear. You always assume the worst about us. You always think humans are weak. And now you will see why patience is dangerous. The council tried to act fast, sending messages demanding surrender. But human ships had already moved. They did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply repositioned, invisible, silent, strategic. And the first test came. An entire alien scouting fleet disappeared without a trace. Systems offline. No signals. No heat. Nothing. ZHYR turned to Valcor. They predicted everything. How is that possible? Elias stood. Because we study everything. Every signal. Every strategy. Every weakness. And we wait. We prepare. Not to conquer, but to survive. And to protect others who cannot protect themselves. A new term began circulating in the hall, whispered by delegates. Fear. Fear of humans. Fear that they had underestimated a species for centuries. The council had assumed superiority. Knowledge. Experience. Weaponry. But humans had patience. Humans had planning. And humans had secrets. High Speaker Valcor swallowed hard. If this is true, if what you say is true, what prevents humanity from acting? Elias' voice was calm but firm. Nothing. If we are provoked, if the galaxy tips into chaos. But we do not act for conquest. We act for survival and for balance. The council hall felt smaller. Shadows seemed deeper. Even the AI systems flickered uncertainly. The human envoy finally sat down. No one applauded. No one cheered. Instead, every being in the room felt it. The quiet, terrifying certainty that humans were nothing like the council believed. They were patient. They were hidden. They were ready. And the galaxy had only just begun to notice. The Galactic Council had expected a show of force. They had prepared for battle. Thousands of fleets moved toward the human system. Weapons charged. Engines ready. Every species convinced they would crush a primitive planet. They were wrong. In the darkness of deep space, hidden between asteroids and gravity shadows, human warships waited. Hundreds of sleek, silent vessels, invisible to all sensors, cloaked perfectly in stealth fields older than most alien empires. Ambassador Elias Ward watched the Council's fleet movements on hologram. His calm voice carried through the human command center. Remember, we do not start the war. The war never begins unless forced. We only respond. High above Earth, the Council fleets entered the outer perimeter. Sensors scanned, nothing unusual. No engines, no shields, no energy signatures. Valcor, leading one of the largest fleets, chuckled. Primitive humans. They cannot hide from us forever. The laughter faded quickly. A human warship, barely the size of a small cruiser, decloaked at the very edge of a Council fleet, not attacking, not threatening, just floating silently. A warning alert sounded across the Council fleet. Systems failed one by one. Shields collapsed. Communications jammed. Navigation computers went offline. Another ship appeared. And another. And another. The number grew exponentially. Entire wings of alien ships blinked out of existence without explosions. Just gone. Panic erupted. Commands were shouted. Orders were repeated. Nothing worked. No weapon could lock on. No sensor could detect the human fleet. Elias observed quietly. They will learn soon enough, he said. Patience is their enemy. One council admiral, a massive reptilian named Thrak, roared. Attack! Fire everything! He pressed the firing controls. Lasers, missiles, plasma cannons, all targeted the nearest human ship. The ship did not move. It absorbed the energy, redirected it, and transmitted back a pulse of interference, so strong it shut down all weapons within 1,000 kilometers. Council officers stared in horror. Impossible. Shields neutralized. Weapons offline. Engines dead. ZHYR, the crystalline elder, whispered. It is as if the ships think like they know our every move. That's because they do, Elias said. Humans study patterns. We anticipate, adapt, and act only when necessary. Valcor realized too late. His arrogance had blinded him. The humans were not primitive. They were predators disguised as prey. The first wave of human ships moved silently through the Council fleet. Not a single explosion. Not a single life lost. Systems shut down. Weapons frozen. Fleets immobilized. Panic turned into fear. Fear turned into surrender. Thrak, The massive reptilian admiral collapsed into his command chair. What are they? Elias leaned forward. We are humans, and we will not start wars for power. But if you threaten us or others who cannot defend themselves, we will act. And you will see that patience is more dangerous than aggression. Council delegates scrambled to retreat, but human ships cut off every path. No weapons fired, yet every ship was immobilized. Communications to their empires failed. The silence was deafening. Elias stood before the command hologram. Notice how we do not harm life unnecessarily. We act only to protect. This is the difference between strength and wisdom. High Speaker Valkor's eyes widened as he realized the truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were masters of strategy, patience, and control. One human ship moved toward the largest council battleship. Its hull gleamed under faint starlight, engine still off. It sent a pulse, not a blast, not a strike, just a simple signal. The council ship's weapons locked down. Its engines froze. Every system went silent. Elias' voice echoed calmly, almost gently. Your arrogance made you blind. But we do not seek your destruction. Only balance. Only survival. The council fleets, paralyzed and terrified, understood the lesson. Humanity was patient, clever, and hidden. They did not need to attack to win. The war had never started, and already the humans had won. ZHYR turned to Valkor, voice trembling. We underestimated them. For centuries. Valkor swallowed. His pride shattered. Humans have taught us fear, not through weapons, but through patience. Elias watched silently as the fleets withdrew. The galaxy had learned its first true lesson. Do not mistake silence for weakness. The hidden human warships disappeared back into the void, unseen once again, leaving the council fleets alive, but humiliated and afraid. And above Earth, the planet continued to spin. Quiet, peaceful, innocent, to those who still believed it was weak. But the council knew the truth. Humans were nothing like they had imagined. Above Earth, in the quiet human command center, Ambassador Elias Ward watched the galaxy react. Fear was spreading through the council like wildfire, yet he did not feel pride or triumph. Humans had never acted for glory. Their strength was tempered by something far older, memory. He began to speak to the council again, though his words were broadcast through the AI, reaching all delegates. You wonder why humanity hid. Elias said, You see our ships, our fleets, and your fear grows. But it was not built for conquest. It was built for survival. The hologram behind him shifted, showing Earth's past. Cities burned in fiery light. Skyscrapers toppled. Oceans boiled. Humans fought each other, nations, ideologies, families. We learned the hard way, Elias continued. Humanity almost destroyed itself. Twice. 3 times. Entire continents fell in our wars. Millions died. We learned that power without control leads only to extinction. Delegates murmured, some skeptical, some shocked. Few had ever seen humans on their own planet. Yet now they glimpsed a history of violence that dwarfed some galactic conflicts. After our near destruction, we swore an oath, Elias said, his voice steady. Never again would humans allow themselves to be the architects of mass death. Not through ignorance, not through arrogance, not through lust for power. The AI displayed vast underground cities, deep-sea shipyards, and hidden asteroid docks. Human warships were built silently, meticulously, across generations. Families dedicated entire lives to studying alien technology, the laws of physics, and patterns of war. The galaxy does not see it, Elias explained. But every hidden ship, every secret system, every plan exists because we fear not the aliens alone, but ourselves. The room fell silent. High Speaker Valkor, still trembling from recent events, whispered, So, you are hiding not from us, but from yourselves? Elias nodded. Yes, we mastered silence, strategy, and patience because we feared what humanity could become if left unchecked. Our greatest enemy has always been ourselves. ZHYR, the crystalline elder, tilted his head. Yet you observed us. You interfered sometimes. You saved smaller species. Why? Because we knew you were arrogant. Elias said, "You would destroy them without a second thought. We could not allow it. And unlike you, we do not fight for power or glory. We fight for balance, for survival, for life." Images flashed of humans rescuing colonies from rogue alien warlords, of fleets protecting unarmed worlds from total destruction. Not one human ship attacked, unless absolutely necessary. Not one life was taken in cold blood. The Council began to understand something terrifying. Humans were patient, but not idle. They waited, observed, learned, and intervened only when the cost of inaction became too high. Kalira, the bird-like delegate, whispered, "So they did not lie about weakness. They chose to hide their strength." Elias' voice carried to the chamber like a calm wind, cutting through fear. "We hid because we understood what it means to have power. The galaxy does not reward wisdom. It rewards force. But we chose differently. We chose life." The council members shifted uncomfortably. Their arrogance, their centuries of dominance, now seemed childish and reckless. Valcor spoke, his voice low and serious. "And now, humans have shown us what true power looks like without using it to destroy." Elias smiled faintly. "We will act when we must, but we do not need to show force to be feared. Patience is far stronger than aggression. Silence is far more powerful than noise." The hologram displayed the hidden human warships once more. They moved silently in formation, invisible, untouchable, ready but restrained. The council realized that the humans had a lesson to teach. True strength is measured not by how loudly you strike, but by how wisely you wait and how carefully you protect what matters. A murmur ran through the hall. Delegates exchanged glances. Some were angry, some humbled. All were afraid. Valcor finally said, "We have underestimated you. Entirely. For centuries." Elias' eyes, calm and steady, met Valcor's gaze through the hologram. "Do not make that mistake again. You do not need to fight us to understand power. Observe, listen, and learn, or face the consequences of ignorance." And as the council fleets withdrew from human space, the galaxy began to change. Rumors spread among lesser species. Humans were not primitive. Humans were patient. Humans were powerful. Humans were something else entirely. Earth continued to spin beneath the stars. Quiet, peaceful, innocent to the untrained eye. But now, every being in the galaxy knew one simple truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. And the real war, the war of patience, strategy, and hidden strength, had only just begun. The Galactic Council had always prided itself on wisdom, diplomacy, and control. But pride is fragile, and secrets are even more fragile. Weeks after the hidden human fleet revealed itself, information began leaking. Human intelligence, gathered quietly over centuries, exposed truths that shook the Council to its core. Ambassador Elias Ward addressed the Council once more. Those words carried across thousands of light years. "You have lied," he said simply. "You have manipulated wars. You have played with civilizations like toys, deciding which should survive and which should fall." Shock rippled across the chamber. The council delegates exchanged panicked glances. "You claim authority over the galaxy," Elias continued. "Yet you left countless worlds to perish while you gained influence and power. Some species are extinct because of your arrogance. Others survive only because humanity intervened quietly, without recognition." A hologram flickered to life. Worlds once thought abandoned now showed traces of hidden human fleets, rescue missions, and emergency supply stations. Small civilizations, which had survived attacks from rogue empires, had been protected secretly by humans. Delegates gasped. Some could not speak. Some clawed at their consoles. Disbelief etched on their faces. High Speaker Valcor's voice shook as he said, "You saved them? All these years. And we thought humanity was insignificant." Elias' voice was calm but firm. "We chose to act when necessary. Not for power. Not for glory. Not to interfere in your politics. Only to protect those who cannot defend themselves." The AI projected a map of the galaxy. Routes previously thought safe were revealed as hidden corridors patrolled by human fleets. Worlds once believed unprotected now glowed with covert human defense networks. ZHYR, the crystalline elder, whispered, They have been saving lives we allowed to be lost. How is this possible? Kalira, the bird-like delegate, tilted her head. All this time, humans were hiding their power and their kindness. Yes, Elias said, we observe your wars. We saw the destruction you caused, and we acted quietly to preserve life. You call yourselves wise, yet you left civilizations to die while we, a species you considered primitive, ensured survival. Valkor's four eyes narrowed. And now we are exposed. The galaxy sees our failure. Elias' gaze was steady. This is not a threat. It is a lesson. The galaxy is built on balance, not on arrogance. The Council was meant to protect, not manipulate. And yet, you chose the opposite. Suddenly, alarms blare across the Council Hall. One of the rogue empires, realizing its weakness, activated a forbidden weapon, a planet-destroying device aimed at a neutral system. The Council froze. They had no time. Their fleets were unprepared for such precision. Panic spread. Elias spoke simply. We warned you. Humanity acts not for conquest, but preserve balance. This is why we intervened, and this is why you must reconsider your actions. High above the galaxy, human warships silently moved into position, not to attack indiscriminately, not to destroy for power, just to prevent catastrophe. The Council watched helplessly as the rogue empire's weapon was neutralized with a single pulse. No ships fired. No weapons exploded. The weapon simply stopped, disabled by human precision. The message was clear. Humans did not need to conquer to demonstrate power. Their patience, knowledge, and planning were more effective than the Council's fleets, more terrifying than any weapon. Delegates whispered among themselves. Arrogance turned into shame. Fear turned into respect, or the closest they could feel to it. Valkor finally spoke, voice low and resigned. We have underestimated humanity, and we have been exposed. The galaxy knows our failures, and they know humans are capable of far more than we imagined. Elias' eyes met his. We do not seek recognition. We act for life, for survival, for balance. That is true strength. The Council realized they had been blinded by pride, arrogance, and a false sense of superiority. For centuries, they thought humans were weak. For centuries, they had manipulated wars. And for centuries, humans have been quietly protecting life across the galaxy, unseen, underestimated, but always watching. A new term began circulating among the Council. Humility. A new reality settled in. Humans were not just a species. They were a force. Silent, patient, and more powerful than anyone had dared to imagine. The galaxy held its breath. For centuries, humans had remained silent, hidden, and patient. They observed wars, studied every empire, and prepared for threats that most species could not even imagine. But now the time had come. A rogue empire, defying all rules of the Council, had launched a devastating weapon aimed at several neutral systems. Entire civilizations were at risk. Lives the humans had quietly protected were in immediate danger. Ambassador Elias Ward watched the Council's panic on a hologram. Their fleets were scrambling, uncoordinated, and slow. Weapons fired blindly, missing targets by light minutes. Elias turned to the human command room. Prepare the fleet. This is what we trained for. Hundreds of warships, hidden across the galaxy, decloaked silently. They moved with precision, not rushing, not reckless. Each ship followed exact coordinates, designed to neutralize the threat without unnecessary damage. High above the target system, the rogue empire's weapon powered up, a massive sphere of destructive energy growing with every second. Council forces hesitated, unsure how to stop it. Elias' flagship approached. Its hull reflected starlight, sleek and intimidating. The ship did not fire lasers or missiles. It did not need to. Target locked, said the tactical officer. Pulsing 321. A single energy pulse shot out. Not an attack, not destruction, but a carefully calculated disruption. The rogue weapon shuddered. Systems overloaded. The energy sphere collapsing on itself, harmlessly dissipating into space. The Council's fleet stared in disbelief. Their most powerful weapon had been neutralized by one human pulse. No lives lost. No collateral damage. just flawless precision. Thrak, the reptilian admiral, whispered, It cannot be. How can a primitive species do this? Elias answered calmly, Humans do not act for aggression. We act for protection. We calculate every outcome. We anticipate every move. That is why we succeed where others fail. The rogue empire's fleets tried to respond, firing blindly. But human warships moved faster, silent and unseen. Engines shut down enemy ships remotely. Weapons froze. Communications were jammed. Entire fleets neutralized without a single explosion. Council delegates watched helplessly. The galaxy's most feared weapons, in the hands of the oldest empires, were powerless. Kalira, the bird-like delegate, whispered, They do not destroy, they control. They do not kill, they protect. Valcor felt something he had never felt before, all mixed with fear. Humans were not just strong. They were something beyond comprehension. Elias turned to Council, his voice steady. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Do not mistake patience for fear. Humans will act when needed, and we will act wisely. But never forget, our purpose is life, not conquest. The rogue empire had no choice. Their weapon was gone, their fleets disabled, and their civilians untouched. They surrendered, their arrogance crushed not by fire, but by precise human action. Everywhere in the galaxy, the message spread. Humans had arrived, not to dominate, not to conquer, but to protect. Even the smallest civilizations, once ignored and vulnerable, now had hope. The humans had become a shield, silent but impenetrable, invisible but undeniable. Valcor finally spoke, voice low and respectful. We have underestimated them, and we will never do so again. Elias nodded, looking at the stars. We do not seek power. We seek balance. We act only when necessary. That is humanity's way. The human fleet returned to hiding, leaving the Council and the galaxy to absorb the truth. Humans had acted once, and their presence had changed everything. The galaxy now knew that the quietest species, the one always underestimated, was the most dangerous, not because of bloodshed or conquest, but because of wisdom, patience, and restraint. The galaxy was quiet. For the first time in centuries, it seemed to hold its breath, not from fear of war, but from awe. The Galactic Council, once proud and arrogant, now faced the undeniable truth. Humans were not just another species. They were patient, wise, and powerful beyond imagination. Ambassador Elias Ward addressed the Council one final time. His voice echoed across the hall, calm, firm, and commanding attention. You have seen what humanity can do, he said. Not to conquer, not to dominate, but to protect and preserve. The galaxy can no longer function under lies, manipulation, or fear. We offer a choice, change, or continue to stumble toward destruction. The Council delegates were silent. Some were angry, some humbled. All were aware that the old ways could no longer survive. Elias continued, We will not rule the galaxy. We will not demand power. But we will insist on fairness, transparency, and cooperation. Every species has value. Every world has a right to exist. A hologram projected a map of the galaxy. Systems that were once hidden, exploited, or abandoned now had safe routes and protection. Smaller species, long overlooked by the Council, were marked with hidden human shields and fleets ready to intervene if danger arose. High Speaker Valcor's pride humbled, nodded slowly. You offer guidance, not control. Wisdom, not tyranny. This is a new path. Elias smiled faintly. Yes, humanity's way is simple. Patience, observation, and protection. We do not seek glory. We do not seek dominance. But we will act when life is threatened, and we will teach the galaxy to value balance over ambition. Delegates whispered among themselves. The realization settled. Humans had changed the rules of power. They had proven that the strongest species is not the one that shouts the loudest or fires the most weapons, but the one that thinks, waits, and acts wisely. Kalira, the bird-like delegate, finally spoke aloud. Perhaps the galaxy needs this, a force that values life above power. A protector, not a conqueror. Zhyr, the crystalline elder, nodded. We were blinded by pride. Humans have shown us what true strength is. Council fleets withdrew, Rogue empires subdued, and the galaxy slowly began to reform itself. New treaties were signed. Old grudges were reconsidered. Worlds that had been abandoned received protection. Systems that had been neglected now had guardians watching from the shadows, and humanity returned to its quiet orbit. Earth spun peacefully beneath the stars, seemingly innocent to any who looked from afar. Its people continued their lives, unaware of the full scale of their influence. Elias Ward looked out from the command center, watching the galaxy adjust. "We will remain hidden," he said softly. "Not because we are afraid, but because the galaxy must learn to stand on its own. We act only when necessary. Patience is our greatest weapon. Restraint is our strength." The Council, now humbled and reformed, sent a final message of respect. They acknowledged humanity's achievements and recognized the need for a new order based on fairness, protection, and balance. For the first time, the galaxy had a silent protector, a species underestimated for centuries, now understood as a force beyond reckoning. Elias turned to the human fleet. "Remember," he said, "the most dangerous species is not the loudest. It is the one that learns quietly, waits patiently, and protects what matters most." The human warships decloaked one final time in formation above Earth. Not for battle, not for dominance, for hope. The galaxy had changed forever, and in the quiet between the stars, humanity remained, watching, waiting, patient, and ready. The galaxy had begun to heal. Worlds once neglected were thriving. The Council had reformed. Peace seemed possible. But the stars are never truly quiet. In the far reaches, beyond map space, a faint signal appeared. No known species. No recognizable pattern. Just a pulse. Slow. Calculated. Ambassador Elias Ward observed it calmly. "Someone is watching," he said. High Speaker Valcor, now humbled, asked, "Could it be another rogue empire?" Elias shook his head. "No, this is something older, smarter, hidden from even our sensors." The human fleet moved silently toward the source, not to attack, not to alarm, just to observe. The Council scrambled ships to investigate. Curious and cautious, delegates whispered. Humans again lead the way. What are they preparing for? Elias stood on the command deck. "The galaxy believes we are done, that we act only when necessary. But patience is more than waiting. It is knowing when to strike or when to watch." The hologram revealed a shadow moving between stars. It was not a fleet. It was massive, organic in shape, but technological. A mix of living matter and engineered machines. Zhuar's voice trembled. It defies all known physics. It is alive. Kalira tilted her head. It watches. It learns. Like humans. Elias nodded. "Yes, we do not yet know its intentions. But we will not wait to be threatened. We observe. We prepare. We protect." The signal pulsed again, stronger. The Council fleets quivered with fear. The humans remained calm. Their strategy, patience, and foresight had prepared them for centuries. This was just another test. Elias whispered, almost to himself, "The galaxy has learned to respect us. Soon, it may learn to fear what we do not yet understand." The human fleet vanished into the stars, silent, invisible, and ready.